It's Thursday, the 12th of December 2024. Good morning and welcome. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia and live on West Coast Radio, it's Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. And Coffee Time is brought to you in association with partners led by Wave, TAF Africa Global, Easy Financial Services, Bloom Bank Africa, Global Properties, the Gambia Experience, and the USA PEEC and GAM Food Trading.
Did you know service plots are now available at Baki? Welcome to Baki, Taft City's fourth residential estate.
Yes, service plots available at Baki with 3 years interest-free payment plan with a minimum deposit of only $94,000, and it will come with fence plot, water reticulation, electricity, solar street lights, and bituminized internal roads. Are you ready to build your dream home for yourself?
Call us now.
We begin our newspaper review with Foraya. Supreme Court hears challenging criminalization, or rather hears case challenging criminalization of female circumcision. Senator Martin says she was framed by KMC. Minister says case of alleged missing funds at GPA referred to Justice Ministry. Gambia owes $1.6 billion to Car Power and Senelec. Water Resources Ministry to commission 55 boreholes in February, and eye-catching titles to both Foraya editorial and question of the day. The importance of energy sovereignty is the editorials, while the question of the day asks, what is the Minister of Finance going to tell the nation in his budget speech? Well, I suppose the wait will soon be over, as that speech is due to be made tomorrow. Next, we have the Voices front page. National Assembly member questions Energy Minister over debt accumulation to Senelec. NBR women groups owe Women Enterprise Development Fund $5.5 million. Visit to Memory House by members of committees for the implementation of post-TRRC recommendations conjures up memories of dictatorship. Dr. Cisse defends President Barrow's Mandinka voters' remarks. Rising fares for public transport causing widespread frustration among passengers. Women leaders take vanguard position in driving climate change resilience in the Gambia, and round 2 of the polio vaccination campaign starts today. Here's the front page of The Point. Minister explains $20 million payment delay to Senelec and Car Power ship. Robbers striking CRR escaping with $100,000. Bensouda says Gambia is hurt by poor leadership. Journalists Musa Sharif and Justice Dabo discharged. Interior Ministry to build 5 new police stations. Risk management is a critical component of GRA's work, and Trust Bank bags Farafenni Marathon Sponsor Award. And finally, the Standard. Ex-KMC CEO tells Commission Mayor Bensouda threatened her. Supreme Court sets Yankuba Toure case for judgment. Dabo says no quitting politics until Gambians regain their dignity. Interior Minister says sustaining police stations a challenge. Peace Corps Director hails ties with Banjul, and Cham testifies in case against Aisha Fati. And that's today's newspaper review. Our thanks to Foraya, The Standard, The Point, and The Voice.
Looking for an establishment where value for money and unrivaled services with admirable turnaround time is guaranteed? The Port of Banjul is the perfect place for you. A vital gateway for trade offering connections to numerous global destinations. With improved infrastructure combined with a flexible tariff, the Port of Banjul remains a vital node in maritime trade. Along with its dedicated workforce, efficient service delivery, technology-inspired innovation, and an impressive record in handling all type of cargo. The Port of Banjul is also widely acknowledged as one of the safest ports on the continent, with no history of piracy. As a major player in the region's maritime trade, accounting for 90% of all imports and exports, we are more than just a transit point, but a vital cog in the global trade sphere. Come experience a hassle-free fast customs clearance inspired by our simplified trade documentation procedures, safe and efficient cargo and vessel handling. The Port of Banjul offers prompt, reliable and value for money service, and customer satisfaction is guaranteed.
Let's end today's program with my serialized conversation with former Vice President Bakari Bunja Dabo, popularly known as BB Dabo, who now leads the opposition Gambia For All party. And in today's installment, he makes his feelings known about the recent expansion of government with the appointment of a minister for the presidency, the Meet the People tour, the internal security situation, as well as the role of the predominantly Senegalese economic force. Recently, the president created a new ministry and, fused roles. The cabinet secretary is now also head of the civil service. And the former chief of staff has now been elevated to minister for the presidency, still fulfilling the role. I mean, how do you react to these changes?
Well, there are two aspects to it. The elevation of the cabinet secretary to the rank of.
The cabinet secretary is now also the head of the civil service.
Okay.
You used to have a secretary general and a cabinet secretary. So now the two have been
no, I didn't even notice that. But what I know is that really civil service reforms, even if it's only structural reforms, really should be thought out and advised, preferably by experts. I hope considerable study has been given to that to bring out what advantages there are. I cannot really, thinking aloud, see the advantage of combining the job of cabinet secretary with head of the civil service. But if it has been looked at by experts and they believe that is a move in the right direction, I would not object to that. But as to the creation of Ministry for Presidential Affairs, well, honestly, I haven't seen the brief for that structure, but I am quite concerned. From my understanding of the functions that devolve onto the president in terms of providing leadership for the country, in terms of also providing leadership and coordination for the activities of the government agencies, I do not believe, in terms of what he needs, not what he wants, but what he needs by way of support, is a full-blown ministry. What for? Full-blown Ministry for Presidential Affairs? I don't know really what it will be. I don't see the need for it.
As president, you wouldn't create that
ministry? No, I would not. And lest people who presidents spin doctors, because they are fond of telling people, well, it's been done in other countries. Yes, I'm aware. Some countries also have this kind of thing. But, the situations are so very different. In the case of the objective circumstances of the Gambia, I don't see the need for it. And on the contrary, it smells. It smells of a kind of an inclination towards what I would call Imperial Presidency. A presidency which is, as it were, important as an institution in itself, to be worth devoting government's time and resources to managing its affairs. What for? What is there to be managed? What is there to be managed? There is a need for it. I don't see the need at all. And unfortunately, again, it's coming at a time which is, and it's ill-advised. We are talking about budget difficulties. Now is the time, the sensible things would be to cut the cost of governance. Cut the cost of governance drastically. Even reduce the existing number of ministries. Also drastically reduce the number of missions abroad. Not only the missions, individual missions, but also the staffing. There is terrible need for cutting the cost of governance. It's unnecessary. It's wasteful. And on top of it, you now come to create a Ministry for Presidential Affairs, whose brief, as I said, I cannot understand. I cannot see the need for it. So this is my view on that particular
point. And talking about cutting, I mean, in your day, it was called Meet the Farmers Tour.
Yes.
The president went out to meet farmers, hear about them. In those days, there were no mobile phones. Roads were not, as good as they are today. Is there a need for the Meet the farmers or Meet the People,
Tour,
as it's now called, Meet the People Tour,
yeah.
to be conducted the way it continues to be conducted, to the point that every year, in fact, we need more money for the trip.
I'm told about 30 million in the budget and maybe it's overspent. Yes, to answer your question, I say no, absolutely no. Again, you hear the government spin doctors talk about it as constitutionally mandated. First, I find the idea of the Constitution finding its way of prescribing this as ridiculous. Why is it necessary? A good leader doesn't need that in the Constitution. You know that the need for it is for you to maintain contact, particularly in a critical sector like agriculture. In our case, that's why throughout the First Republic, we talk about as Meet the Farmers Tour, because this is the sector which needs that particular kind of attention from the president, and in a very practical way, not combined with politics. You just go exactly concentrate on things to do with the rural economy, and I suppose also incidentally also things like health and as you go around. But now to talk about it in this grand style way, make it a political talk, is very sad. It's very sad.
So you think it's been converted into a political tour, political rally?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's simply ridiculous. And again, to make matters worse, they talk about it as if it's a constitutionally mandated. Why should the Constitution mandate it in this way? The Constitution says you should do it, but you don't have to do it in this flashy way. And in any case, it wasn't even necessary to make it a constitutional requirement. You should do it. If your job is the head of a country like this, find a way of maintaining contact. That's necessary. Even if the Constitution doesn't call for it. But to call it constitutional mandatory doesn't also make it necessarily that it has to be done in this grand style. And it's been deviated from its original intention, yes.
People talk a lot also about the security situation in the country. Increasingly, people feel that the Gambia has become very insecure, and we've had mysterious killings that are still being investigated. What do you feel about the security of the country?
Well, the same way, like as you said, it's a matter of great concern that the security in terms of internal security, people living in this country, has become a matter of great concern. I have come across many people, including foreigners who consider living here. Some are actually thinking of packing and going precisely because of insecurity. And of course, the effect of it on the tourist industry is easy to understand. And again, this is an area which illustrates the total failure of this government. One of the terrible weaknesses of the governance under the military-style government was lack of security at all levels. Security of individuals, but also security in terms of political stability. Now, it's felt that the new government, one of the first things is to look at the security sector. The security sector, because a lot of the weaknesses are within the sector itself, in terms of its processes, in terms of its way it is structured, and we had thought that this thing would be carried out. And the government made a lot of noise, a lot of hype. There's a lot of, ceremonies, launching this and launching that security sector reform, high-profile missions to Rwanda and other countries to observe, to study them. Still now, 8 years down the line, nothing has taken off. And yet, really, this is not a sector which is that difficult for the Gambia. You look at Gambia's security challenges. Security challenge in terms of threat of external aggression is minimal. It's minimal. And security in terms of security related to immigration, people from outside coming in and creating problems, it is there but not that big. The security threat is really safety in relation to the safety of people in the country. And this is why we have been seeing all these murders, and including even murders of police personnel. Now, in this security apparatus, you have the army, you have the NSS or NIA, and the police. Now, of these, if you look at the figures of the present figures, their numbers are almost equal, or the army a little bit more. But look at their functions. The most acute challenge is in the area of internal security for citizens. That is the work of the police. That's a special area of the police. And it's the police that is the largest number, but which is the least funded. You find so many police stations here, but you stop and ask them in terms of, for instance, their equipment. Some will tell you we don't even have a vehicle. They don't even have vehicles. They don't have the necessary communication gadgets. How can you be effective? On top of that, they are the least paid. As a result, the numbers are there. The police themselves are the victims of this policy failure and leadership failure of the country, and they also, of course, turn around and become part of the problem. You find the police, these roadblocks are agreed by everybody to be areas for where people get harassed, instead of really looking after road safety of the population, which is supposed to be there. No, they are there to get money. Last week, said a policeman was at the beach, extorting money from people. So that's really, our police force is next to zero. Lack of training, lack of incentives, lack of equipment, lack of resources, underfunding. More of even the amount of funding that is provided for the security sector goes to the army, in a situation where the challenge that the army should meet within external aggression is minimal, and they are there. And the government lacks the courage to come and have a look at it and say, look, there should be readjustment in terms of where the resources should be allocated, and even looking at the need for maintaining the army at that level. This army got to that level through this megalomaniac creating this army, because for him the regime security, which was a major concern of Yahya Jammeh and the present government, depends on the army. Regime security depends on them, not the security of the citizens, but the security of the regime, they believe, is secured by the army.
What do you think of ECOMIC still being around?
Well, it's now almost becoming a national disgrace, unfortunately. When the intervention took place, it was for good reason, in the sense that there was, perhaps, it's still debatable, but there was a perceptible threat of instability, internal conflict kind of thing. So for them to come and stabilize it, but that we should have passed that stage many years back. That has not happened. Up until now, they are still around, including even the personal protection for the head of state. But as I said, it seems to reflect the government's idea of security. It is about regime security. That's their major concern. It's security, it's not national security. So this is a pity. The ECOWAS, it's a good gesture by the community, but it really is hardly necessary as far as the Gambia is concerned, if the need has been done to carry out the necessary security sector reforms.
That's Alhaji Bakari Bunja Dabo, aka BB Dabo, and it's the final show of the week tomorrow, when I'll be concluding my conversation with him with a look at the country's foreign policy. My studio guest tomorrow will be the Honorable Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Professor Pierre Gomez, amid the crisis in the higher education sector. So look forward to an engaging conversation, perhaps enriched by your own questions and comment. Until then, from me, Peter Gomez, thanks for listening. It's the end of the show today, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Up next is the Natip Hour with Aji Jacob Khan.